Instead of debating what's best, married or single, can we consider what's less worse, which might be more common? So, being stuck in a marriage you hate with someone you can't stand but can't leave due to life circumstances, or being single and romantically lonely with no prospects of finding a partner because of life circumstances. Jonathan, your research often highlights the well-being of married individuals, but how do you measure the deep sadness people might experience in these situations? And Bella, as an advocate for the single life, how do you address the profound heartbreak and yearnings some might feel? Basically, if you're sad and disappointed, either single or married, what do you think is more difficult to experience and cope with?
That is a real issue, and I don't know which is worse. But I will say that I think the bad feelings of people who are single are made worse by the way we hear so much of this marriage evangelism. All married people are happier and healthier. And the way we respect and celebrate married people and don't take as seriously the other important people in our lives. And I think if we respected that, and if we celebrated other people's important pursuits and what they're passionate about, that it would seem like less of a tragedy not to be married or in a romantic relationship for people who do want that.
For my part, I can say that at Gallup, we collect data on the daily experiences that people have. Did you experience a lot of anger, sadness, loneliness, stress yesterday? Did you experience a lot of happiness? Those are some of the questions we ask, in addition to the evaluative questions, such as where do you stand on a 0 to 10 scale? If 10 is the best possible life you can imagine for yourself, 0 is the worst. So we define suffering and struggling and thriving based on your answers to that question. Also, how you anticipate your life being in the next 5 years. So I can tell you that married people are less likely to be suffering at the very bottom of the ladder, and they're more likely to be thriving. But of course, there are people who are married and suffering, and there are people who are married and struggling. And that's, we have a large country, so that's going to be a lot of people. And there's no doubt that there are people that are in relationships that are not working. And my advice would be to go to someone like you and start there. And then if it still doesn't work out, then you consider getting divorced.
Something else to take into consideration, which my question sort of considers, is that the grass is always greener. I don't think that we talked about, you all talked about that very much. That's something that I experience with my clients, and then a lot of people online that are sending me messages. I think that it also depends on I'm also interested in who is this person you're talking about that sort of fits this perfectly. I think that there's a lot of trauma, and you've kind of talked about, Jonathan, temperament, life circumstances such as peers and Hollywood and magazines and TV. We absorb all of these things, and that's kind of what influences us to want to be single or married. And I'm not sure that that's been talked about as much. So it all sort of I feel single or married, it depends.